What happens when a 21-year-old tennis player walks into the US Open before even playing her first singles match yet somehow becomes one of the biggest stories at the gates? That is the question now around Alex Eala, because the numbers coming out of Flushing Meadows are turning heads before the first ball of her singles campaign has even been struck. More than 35,000 Filipino fans are reported to have rushed for US Open tickets. Demand has pushed resale prices sharply higher, and organizers have been forced to think bigger about where her matches can be staged. A $65 grounds pass said reaching $363 on the resale market tells only part of the story. The bigger story is what happens when thousands of fans decide they are not just watching a tournament anymore, they are showing up for one player. And Alex is at the center of it. The moment she posted, "Coming for you, New York," the reaction from Filipino fans in New York became hard to ignore. Supporters began mobilizing across the metropolitan area, and Flushing Meadows started to look less like a normal Grand Slam venue and more like the gathering point for a national celebration. Philippine flags appeared throughout the Billie Jean King National Tennis Center. Fans waited outside the grounds, and chants of "Let's go Alex" began making an atmosphere long before her singles story had reached its first chapter. That matters because the Filipino community in the New York metropolitan area is huge, and many of those fans were now waiting for a reason to turn their support into something visible. Alex gave them that reason. But here is where the story gets much more interesting. This was not the first time the Alex effect had changed the atmosphere around a major tournament. It had now been building during the North American swing. In Toronto, the demand around her matches became so strong that tournament officials were confronted with a simple problem: the court they wanted to use was not big enough. Tournament director Carl Hale said the grandstand court held about 2,800 people, yet demand connected to Alex was thought to have reached well beyond that capacity. His explanation captured the unusual nature of the situation. Putting her on a smaller court risked leaving thousands of interested fans outside. That is not the normal problem a tournament expects from a young player still establishing herself on the biggest stage. In Toronto, the 12,500-seat Sobeys Stadium became the answer, and the atmosphere around Alex's debuts showed just how quickly her following was growing. Filipino flags filled sections, fans turned matches into celebrations, and even the players on court could feel the gap. Then came Cincinnati. The pattern continued. Demand rose, ticket prices increased, and the stadium still drew a huge audience for Alex's match. Reports cited a roughly 70% increase in ticket prices around the event while the venue continued to sell out. That is why New York feels different. Toronto showed that Alex could attract a crowd. Cincinnati suggested that the trend was spreading. The US Open is where the question becomes much bigger: can that same demand overwhelm one of the largest and most major tennis events in the world? The early signs suggest that the answer may be yes. Even Felix Auger-Aliassime, Alex's mixed doubles partner, appeared surprised by the size of the fan base. He joked about experiencing the Alex effect and pointed out the unusual reality that although Alex is younger, it can feel as though she is the one carrying the crowd behind them. That comment says something major. Her popularity is no longer just a Filipino community story. Other players are starting to notice it. Organizers are noticing it. And the ticket market is certainly noticing it. Look at the resale numbers. A grounds pass with a face value of $65 was said being listed for $363. That is nearly 6 times the original price. Other grounds pass listings were reported in the $240 to $478 range, while some of the least expensive first-session Arthur Ashe Stadium seats were around $327 on the secondary market. Those figures are not necessarily the price every fan will pay, and resale prices can move quickly, but they reveal the intensity of demand around the tournament. The wider US Open market is expensive as well. By mid-August, reported average ticket prices for the 2026 event were around $311 compared with roughly $262 at the same point in 2025. The result is a tournament where fans are not just competing for seats, they are competing for access. And the grounds pass creates another layer of tension. It gives fans entry to the grounds and outer courts, but it does not guarantee a seat inside Arthur Ashe Stadium. Imagine spending hundreds of dollars arriving at the world's biggest tennis tournament and still knowing that the biggest matches may be beyond your reach. That anger has become part of the conversation around this year's ticket market. But there is an even bigger comparison that makes the numbers stand out. A first-week Wimbledon grounds pass has been cited at around £33.70, while Roland Garros has been around €39.45, and the Australian Open's future pricing has also been discussed in the same context. Compared with those figures, a US Open grounds pass on opening day can look sharply more expensive. One reason is the American resale system, where tickets can be resold above face value. At Roland Garros, resale rules are much more restrictive, meaning the same type of price explosion does not happen in the same way. So the ticket controversy cannot be blamed on Alex alone. The US Open was now an expensive event. The resale market was now powerful. But Alex's popularity appears to be adding another layer of pressure to a now intense marketplace. That is why the movement of her matches matters so much. When organizers choose a larger court, they are not just changing a schedule. They are responding to thought demand. In Toronto, the issue was obvious. A 2,800-seat court could not comfortably handle interest thought to be more than 5,000. At the US Open, the scale is even greater because the event has the setup to put major matches in huge stadiums. Alex's mixed doubles debut with Felix Auger-Aliassime was scheduled for Arthur Ashe Stadium, the largest tennis stadium in the world, and that placement alone showed how much focus the partnership had made. But the bigger message is what the court decision shows. A player's business power is usually tied to ranking rivalries, championships, or a major breakthrough. Alex is building something slightly different. Her audience is turning up because they want to see Alex regardless of who stands across the net. That is a powerful advantage, but it also creates huge pressure. The US Open has to balance fan demand, court capacity, scheduling, player logistics, and fairness across a tournament that contains hundreds of athletes. At the same time, the fans want access and they want to feel that their support is being recognized. This is where the story becomes emotional. For many Filipino fans, seeing Alex on a Grand Slam stage is not just another tennis appointment. It shows a young athlete from the Philippines stepping into a sport that has before had limited mainstream focus in the country and fast making a huge global spotlight. When those fans wave Philippine flags in New York, they are not only cheering for points. They are celebrating visibility. They are celebrating possibility. And that helps explain why the atmosphere around Alex can feel so much larger than her results alone. The effect has now been visible in other cities. In Washington, tournament officials said a large majority of ticket requests were coming from Alex's fans. In Toronto, her matches repeatedly drew huge crowds. In Cincinnati, the market responded again. Now New York is becoming the biggest test yet. And the US Open has another problem: pressure. Once fans believe a player can create an lasting atmosphere, they want the next event to be even bigger. That means every debut becomes a potential spectacle. Every court announcement becomes news. Every ticket listing becomes something fans monitor. And every opponent fast becomes part of a much larger story. The pressure is huge because the focus that can help a player feel supported can also create a mountain of pressure. There is also a practical side to the controversy. As resale prices climbed, fans began voicing anger about cost. New York State Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani said secured 1,000 tickets at $100 each for New Yorkers amid the surge in resale prices. Those tickets were not intended for resale through Ticketmaster, giving local fans a chance to experience the tournament without competing at the highest resale prices. The move underlined how quickly a sports story can become a conversation about access. Who gets to watch? Who can afford to attend? And when a young star creates unprecedented demand, how should a tournament respond? Those questions are now connected to Alex's US Open debut. Yet the most notable part is that her singles campaign has not even begun. That is the detail viewers should keep in mind. Before Alex hits her first singles ball in New York, she has now made a ticket story, a crowd story, a resale story, and a cultural story. She is thought to compete in 3 events during the US Open period: mixed doubles with Felix Auger-Aliassime start August 25th, the Stars of the Open exhibition against Eva Liss on August 27th, and the women's singles main draw start August 30th. Each debut brings a different kind of focus. Mixed doubles creates a partnership storyline. The exhibition creates a celebrity-style spectacle. Singles creates the pressure of Grand Slam event where every point fast carries stakes. And that is where the entire ticket rush could become either the start of something huge or the setup for an even bigger question. What happens if Alex wins? What happens if she reaches the second week? What happens if the crowd keeps growing with every round? The ticket market is now reacting before those questions have answers. Imagine what could happen if her results start matching the size of her audience. That is the real suspense around Flushing Meadows. Alex has now shown that she can create an atmosphere. Now she has to show what she can do inside it. The focus will be intense. The Philippine flags will be visible. The chants will be loud. The pressure will be high. And every opponent will know that they are not walking into an ordinary match setting. They are walking into a crowd that has traveled, paid, waited, and thought. That can become a player's greatest source of energy. It can also become one of the biggest tests of composure. For Alex, the next step is not about proving that she has fans. The ticket numbers have now made that argument. The next step is proving that she can turn that huge support into huge tennis. That is why the US Open story is only start. The reported 35,000 fan rush, the soaring resale prices, the larger courts, the packed stadiums in Toronto and Cincinnati, and the growing focus from players and officials all point toward the same conclusion: the Alex effect has moved beyond a simple fan trend. It is becoming part of the business atmosphere and identity of the events she enters. But tennis finally settles every argument on court. The crowd can fill a stadium. It can raise the noise level. It can create lasting moments. It cannot hit the serve, return the ball, or close the match. Alex still has to do that herself. And that is what makes the next few days so fascinating. The biggest question is no longer whether people will show up for Alex. They now are. The question is what they will witness when she finally steps onto the US Open singles court. Will the teenager from the Philippines turn a massive fan movement into a deep Grand Slam run? Will Flushing Meadows become the stage for the biggest chapter of her career so far? Or will the pressure of the moment create a challenge even greater than the opponent across the net? Nobody knows yet. But one thing is clear: before the first singles match, Alex Eala has now made New York pay focus. And if the crowd is this loud before the story starts, imagine what happens when the stakes finally rise. And that may be the most exciting part of all. Every entrance, every announcement, every point could become another viral moment. The crowd has arrived early, the spotlight is ready, and now the tennis has to answer the hype. New York is watching, Filipino fans are watching, and the world is watching. Alex needs one thing now: a moment on court that proves the noise was worth it. And proves she belongs here too.